We have next with us Mr. Gilbert Houngbo, the President of International Fund for Agricultural Development, to talk about achieving economic growth, equity, as well as SDGs through better food systems. Welcome to CNBC Africa.
Thank you for having me today.
How can we transform the food systems in rural areas so that they can provide jobs as well as food and help us achieve SDGs going forward?
One dimension is to look at the production level and at the transformation level, and at the market level, from farm to fork. At the production level, it's quite critical for us to increase the productivity of the small-scale holders. Essentially, where we want to focus nowadays is to bring affordable and available technology innovation to the smallholders, so to help them to increase their productivity and the production. And also, the next step is the basic transformation. Instead of just selling directly their produce from the farm, to add value to the chain, and which also help us to fight against the food waste and loss. The third point that I will mention is really the investment in rural infrastructure that will allow, and coupled with storages and feeder roads and so forth, so that the access to the market, be it local, national, or regional, international market, can be made easier.
But could you give me some examples of areas in food systems that have been very successful, investments made by governments or organizations like yourself?
No, well, first of all, our investments always through the government, and there are so many examples. One will come to my mind is the work we're doing in Ethiopia, where we're helping with water management and providing basic irrigation, low-cost irrigation systems that help the small-scale producer to increase their productivity. Or another example can be in Kenya, where working with the government and we're helping those small-scale producers to have better access to market information through their cell phone. I can also talk to you about Nigeria, where we are funding directly the young entrepreneur, or in Cote d'Ivoire, where also we are funding young agripreneur in the cocoa industry, for them to create jobs, not only for themselves, but also for other youth. So there are different examples, concrete examples of what we're talking about.
Would you consider this responsible investments? Because that is something IFAD has talked about plenty before. Also, how do you plan on connecting the youth to these farmers, these young agripreneurs?
Mm-hmm. No, connecting the youth for us from day one in the past several years, it's one of the four mainstream area, together with climate change, nutrition, and women on that. So being responsible is not only to connect those four mainstream area, is also ensuring that we are doing our investment in the full respect of environment and social and governance criteria, which we call the ESG criteria, wherever we invest. So we have to keep four parameters together. The food parameter, which means fight against hunger. In Africa, we still have 260 million that go to bed every day hungry. We need to look at the economic dimension. The small-scale producers, they need to have a decent living income out of the daily work. They can't be producing that and yet starving and not being able to have a minimum decent income.
What is on the agenda for IFAD this year for the AGRF 2021 summit? And also, what do you plan to take forward from this summit to the UN Food Systems Summit?
First of all, what is key for us is the commitment, the political commitment for our leaders on the continent. And we have seen it. Honestly, I'm very, very hopeful and very, very happy to see the level of commitment of the head of state that are speaking, that have been involved in the AGRF 2021. And And the message they are giving and speaking with one voice on several of those issues that I just mentioned, bringing that message to the to UNGA, the UN General Assembly, and the Food System Summit on September 23rd is going to be very powerful on that. And our hope is that we come out of the food system with a very concrete deliverables on where we're going to focus, having a follow-up mechanism, action-oriented, working with the government at the national level, and having a sense of accountability. So a year later, 2 years later, we can follow up so to ensure that the summit is producing the expected results.
Is there a number that you have in mind with respect to investment this year, going forward, maybe for the next 10 years, what IFAD would like to put in Africa?
No, for us, first of all, in the next 3 years, we in our core investment, we talk about more or less somewhere between 3.5 and 4 billion investment, both our core and our earmarked activities on that. And out of that, at least 55%, which means more than half, will be in Africa on that. So you can imagine that our primary focus is the low income and lower middle income countries in Africa. So that is very key for us.